Welcome everyone to Take Your Cue from PeopleQ, where Saria and I will be sharing with you on a regular basis tips for leaders to build engaging and thriving teams. Welcome, Saria.
Hi, Mel. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. And welcome everyone to Take Your Cue. Mel, stop. Oh my
God, don't do
Mel?
Saria, why don't you share with me what's bringing so much joy to you today?
Well, I was just thinking, Mel, that I'm really excited to be bringing this content to our community. And I guess given that this is the first Take Your Cue segment, I'm sure our community and viewers playing at home would be interested to know why you started up PeopleQ.
Well, that's a great question. And look, it's a fairly lengthy answer, so let me give you the short version. Back in 2014, I ran the New York Marathon, and something happened to me through the running of the marathon and in the experience in raising money leading up to it, where I just felt this overwhelming sense of having contributed to something greater to myself. And I guess that got me thinking and I started questioning everything. And whilst I loved what I did and I was passionate about my work and I think I was good at what I did, I just got to the point where a number of things happened in my life where I really decided it was time to step back and do something that had a bit more meaning and was more focused on contributing to the community and others rather than contributing to myself. And so I resigned and I took a little bit of time really to do different things, collaborate with different people before getting to the point where I really knew that for me, it was about helping leaders, supporting leaders to be the best that they can be, to bring out the greatness in them. And so PeopleQ and having a positive conversation one at a time was born. What about?
Thanks, Mel, for sharing.
I know, I said that was the short of the long, but I'm just conscious that we keep our audience interested. Look, I would like to know as well, and maybe if you can share that for our audience, why you joined, I guess, what we're now calling PeopleQ 2.0.
Yeah. I guess ultimately, Mel, I was just ready for a new challenge. I had an incredible career working in a big corporate, fulfilling lots of different senior leadership roles, which is when I sort of became passionate about all things people development and in particular leading high performance teams. And I really just wanted to share my leadership journey and key learns, I guess, with others. And really just paying it forward. But also the biggest draw card of all, Mel, is being able to work with you again.
And I love working with you as well. As you know, you've just reinvigorated me for the next decade, I think.
Oh, too kind, too kind. So Mel, given your vast experience and in the current landscape, what would be your number one leadership tip for leaders right now?
Look, I think given everything that's happening around us, there's COVID is creating so much uncertainty. Our teams are working from home, in the office, or across a number of different geographical locations. And we're also working longer hours, believe it or not. There's a few studies now coming out that we're doing more. So my biggest tip right now would be that of self-care and a focus on what we can do to continue to build our resilience muscle, because we are role models for our teams. And so we want to make sure we role model the right behaviours. But when I talk about resilience as well, often people will think about one or two things. I like to think about it from a balanced perspective. So look at it from the perspective of what can you do to build physical strength and resilience. And that includes things like exercise, getting out there, doing things, getting those endorphins moving, but also your nutrition. I also like to look at it from an emotional perspective, so making sure that we're managing and navigating our emotions, and we're using them in a way that there's wisdom out of it and we're making more effective decisions. And that also includes our mindset, you know, that optimistic thinking. I also think that it's really important that we're aware of our cognitive thoughts, and I've spoken to optimistic thinking, but there are other things we can do as well to build more resilience. And for example, you know, when we get caught in a really difficult situation, we kind of tend to hone in on that. Maybe just take a moment to kind of pause and try and zoom out and find some of the good in the situation, because that might help you navigate it. And then, of course, the other quadrant is spiritual resilience as well. So the key tip is when you are looking at building your resilience, make sure that there's balance across all those 4 areas. What about yourself? Thank you. What about yourself, Saria? I know that you've got lots of tips to share with us. What's one that you can share today?
Well, Mel, my top tip is actually a really simple one, and it's free. It's recognising your employees, and it can be as small as a thank you email if someone has gone above and beyond or completed a particularly challenging task. Or it could be a shout out during a team meeting to acknowledge outstanding teamwork. It could be also noticing when someone isn't themselves and reaching out to ask, how are you? So I think, you know, in the current landscape, recognising your employees is going to go a really long way. Because whilst we are complex, humans are also really simple. We want to be seen, heard and validated. And so I think, you know, that's really it. Recognising your employees. It's a small step, but it will certainly help them to feel motivated, engaged, and hopefully help you retain your staff as well. As I'm hearing and reading a lot about this resignation era that we're about to enter. So far, I think it's still hype. We're yet to sort of see what will unfold. But, you know, take those steps now, like start acknowledging and recognising your staff and building that team culture.
Saria, I love that. So much of that resonated with me. Of course, our PeopleQ Factor tool, which is a pulse tool, has recognition as part of the metrics. But also the hear and the see is so important. It is simple. So thank you for sharing that. That was powerful. So from us at PeopleQ, this is goodbye for our first Take Your Cue from Mel and Suria.
Bye, everyone.